Happy Thursday, everyone. It's Nico with today's ThoughtLoad. And today I want to talk about attention and focus. Now, many of you may have been in a big crowd of people, but you were somehow able to hear the person that you were talking to, whether they were next to you or if they were even a little further away. Or maybe you've been listening to a song before and you've heard some of those notes in the background of the song that kind of fill out the song around its edges. That's an example of how we can focus on something if it's important to us. Now, this also has the same effect with negative things. Sometimes if we don't like something, we may tend to focus on that thing even though we don't necessarily have to. Your attention and focus is where you choose to put it. Everything else around you that's happening on a day-to-day basis, those are just small events that don't affect you. You, in a way, you choose how those events affect you based on your attention and your focus. Now, granted, we can get into perspective and changing your state and all sorts of stuff, but this episode is on attention and focus. So I'll give you an example. Today, I was out hiking. I had a backpack on. It's kind of random. I filled it with some rice to weigh it down. And when I got my pack all tightened up and everything, as I walked, it made a really squeaky sound. And it did not stop. And it was right next to my ears. Now, I could have stopped and worked on the pack and gotten annoyed with the sound or what have you. But I chose to focus on my breathing. I chose to focus on what was happening around me, the scenery, all that other stuff. And that noise eventually went away. And there were times where I would hear it again, but I would kind of see how I could make those sounds into a song. And it's funny too how I know parents sometimes talk about hearing sounds that sound like their children, and they'll perk up, or their mind will kind of like mold those sounds to make them sound like their children even though they're not. And that happens with everyone, with any random sound, really. Sometimes at night, the wind will be blowing and you'll think someone's coming in, but your mind changes that sound from the wind to a person, right? All of that is your attention and your focus. And so because we have that power, we have to realize that those moments are short. Some of the studies that I've shown or I've looked at show that most humans have an average attention span under 9 seconds. That's super short. And so we have to take any time that those 9 seconds come about, you have to realize that you have a choice with what you do with your attention. Sometimes our attention can be much longer if we're passionate about whatever it is that we're doing. But we have to realize that we have a short period of time where we can choose to change our focus. And the point of this message today is, how are you going to use this information to change your life or to make small adjustments? I personally consider myself a lifelong learner. Now, do I do that every single day? No. But I've created some habits that help me learn on a regular basis and enjoy learning. One of the things I do for fun and where I spend some of my attention and focus is looking at random videos that will teach me something. Before I even click on a link, I'm asking myself, what is this going to give me? Am I going to learn something that I don't already know? And just in doing that in the past week, I've learned about some Pakistani brick kilns that act as a modern form of slavery. And that's, it's a terrible thing, but I feel it's important to know about all those little things going on. It's something I didn't know about. And so just like we can drown out other sounds by changing our focus, we can do that with our emotions. We can do that with the choices that we make. And we have to realize that those moments where we're choosing are very small. Anytime you're driving and someone cuts you off, that's where your attention is. If your attention is on all of the negative things in those moments, that's what you're going to feel. That's what you're going to experience. That's what you're going to remember. But if that same person cuts you off and your attention is on the fact that you're alive, the fact that no one got hurt, the fact that you're still able to get to where you're going to go, that's going to seem like a blip in the radar. Just a small thing that happened on the way. So realize you have the power to choose what happens around you. Our attention and focus help create the world around us. Things are not happening to us necessarily. We are creating the outcomes in our life by what we focus on and where we place our attention. Use your power to create the best life that you envision for yourself. Guys, remember the message. Repeat it sometimes if you have to. Go back and check out some other recordings and thought loads to give you some more context on these types of ideas. And I'm going to end with a quote here from Tony Robbins. He says, "Where attention goes, energy flows." Stay tuned for another thought load next week. And as always, begin the duel, win the day.